Roster Watch Nation, what is up, and welcome back to the epic Roster Watch Shrine Bowl recap show. Day one in the books here in Frisco, Texas. I'm in Frisco, Texas, but this morning I made the drive over to Denton. We were at the University of North Texas, the Mean Green, for practice, and it was a good one. Two practices. East was in shells, shoulder pads, helmet, shorts, and the West was in full pads. So we got to see a little bit of hitting from the West side. I'm going to be going through notes. I'm just going to I straight up haven't even read these yet. I just have a bunch of notes, got back, talked to the wife, jump on the show. Let's go. And that's what we're going to do because we're here. It's Saturday, January 25th. Tomorrow we'll be here for day number 2. And then we'll make the trek down to Mobile for 3 days of the Senior Bowl. Make sure you check it all out here live on Roster Watch on YouTube. Click like, click subscribe, do the damn thing. We'll have at least 5 or 6 shows over the course of the next week talking about the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, and preparing you for the aftermath of that. And the release of the Roster Watch rookie rankings on the website will be coming soon after that. The All Shrine Bowl team, the All Senior Bowl team, and much, much more as we prepare for a sick month of February headed towards the NFL Combine. If you guys got any comments, any questions from today, drop in the chat. I'll let you know what I thought about Kyle McCord, Peyton Thorne, Keandre Lambert-Smith, any of your favorites that participated here in the Shrine Bowl today. I'll try to hit on everybody, at least that I made notes of or that anybody has questions of. So let's start out. Bubble throat. Let's start out at the top here. First and foremost, biggest takeaway upon showing up was, first off, a lot of people, a lot of media members, a lot of scouts, a lot of executives. Got to see Mike Borgonzi, the new GM for the Tennessee Titans. He was already in Titan gear a week after getting hired. He was already in Titan gear down here at the Shrine Bowl, watching the one-on-ones for the offense and defensive line. Monty Ossenfort, GM for the Arizona Cardinals. Massive dude. We've seen him a couple times at the Combine, but when we see him at the Combine, they're up on these pedestals. They have him standing up, obviously, like a foot or a foot and a half higher than the media. But Monty Ossenfort in person on the hoof, side by side, dude's like 6'4", massive dude. Makes sense. He was also keying in on the offensive defensive line one-on-ones through the warm-ups. As far as the offensive and defensive linemen go from the event today, not a lot of, how should I say this? Tier 1, not a lot of tier 1. The best lineman by far, and the note that I wrote down for Phillips, I think Dane Brugler made a note of him and said that he thought he was the highest graded player participating. And the reason I do this is because Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, Deion's son, is not participating, but he is here going through interviews and things of that nature. But the highest graded for Brugler was Jordan Phillips, the defensive lineman from Maryland, number 8. I didn't see he said that until after practice. Being at practice, there was no D lineman that first cycle, the East team or the East team that really caught my eye. The West team, though, had 2 defensive linemen from Maryland, one being Phillips and the other one being Tommy Akingiboste. I think that's how you say that. Akingiboste. Phillips, though, when you see this guy and his strength, he doesn't have insane burst off the ball, but he's insanely strong and he's insanely consistent. I think he utilizes his technique and his base very well. And that's the one guy from the event today that I wrote down, what's he squat? What's he squat? Because when you think of the thought of tree trunk legs, you think of Jordan Phillips. I know there's already a Jordan Phillips in the NFL. I think people probably saw this last weekend when he was for the Bills. He was the one that had that big jacket on underneath 97, underneath his jersey. That's another Jordan Phillips. But this is a new Jordan Phillips from Maryland. And this guy is not quite as big as far as tall as the Jordan Phillips in the NFL. I think Jordan Phillips for the Bills is 6'4", 327. This guy, I'll pull up the height weight stuff right now. He's 6'1", 6012, 318. So he's 318. He looks like he carries well because he looks like he's about 340. And I'll tell you, from the hips down, I have big legs. His legs are It did. Looks like I was muted. Looks like I muted myself. If I mute myself again, please somebody let me know. My mic came undone, went reconnected to itself. Anyways, Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle from Maryland, stud. What's he squat? I want to know. I'm going to find it out. See if I can find out tomorrow what he squats. West team. What else do we got on the West team? 26 and 22 were the two running backs that I kept key on. 26 was Corey Kiner. 22 was Jaquindon Jackson. And the other running back in that group was Tahj Brooks. I thought Brooks and Kiner from Cincinnati, he's a very decisive runner. I was talking to Matty Kiwum, texting me about it. He's like, what do you think of Kiner? And I said, I honestly haven't watched him before the event. I've been focused really a lot on receiver. I got done with receivers for receiver rankings. I just got into running backs. I got a half dozen running backs in before I made the trip over here. Kiner was not one of them. And Kiner, Brooks, and from the East team, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. I didn't want to say it wrong. Jacory Croskey-Merritt. He had 100 yards this year for Arizona. He did a transfer from New Mexico, then a transfer from like Alabama State. Those are the three backs to watch. And they're going to be competing for the All Shrine Bowl team because I think you only get two running backs that I'm going to establish because there's a ton of receivers who we'll talk about here. Croskey-Merritt looked very good in the inside run. He's a very fluid back, didn't struggle at all in the pass catching stuff, in the bag work. Any problems in that facet. We didn't see any pass pro stuff today, but neither guy struggled in that. The other two running backs, like I said before, Corey Kiner, hopefully I'm saying Kiner right, from Cincinnati, and then Tahj Brooks from Texas Tech. Tahj had a little bit of hiccups in the receiving game, but he's a bowling ball of a back, man. We watched this guy have back-to-back 1,500-yard rushing seasons at Texas Tech the last 2 years and thought he was going to come out last year. Should have came out last year in that good class, but now he's got two 1,500-yard seasons to his name. He's a bowling ball of a back. He weighed in at 229 pounds today. He's 5'9", 229. Great build. Kiner came in at 5'8", 214 or 219, I think it was. I can correctly say this right now. Kiner, where'd he go? Kiner, where's he at? Corey. That the connection is lost. I have to double check. If you're in the chat, drop a comment. Let me know I'm still here. Anybody? All right. I think our connection was lost, but we're going to keep on trucking until looks like we're back. All right. Sorry about that. If for the audio. I'm going to keep on powering through it. Whatever. Guys, we're taking your opportunities at punt return. 83 was the best. I thought the most natural. Jacoby George, that was from the West team. On the East side in punt return, the most fluid was definitely Nick Nash. Nick Nash is the receiver from San Jose State. Problem with Nick Nash, his hands came in a little slight. Nick Nash hands came in. I mean, when you look at this guy off the hoof, Nick Nash looks like your NFL receiver, a guy you're going to really like. 8 3/4 inches hands, little slight there. The arms are a little short, sub 32-inch arms, sub 77-inch wingspan, but he did weigh 6'2", 198. I like Nick Nash. I like him a lot. The transition, he had a big drop. The transition to the bigger football may be a little bit for Nash. At receiver, everybody wants to hear about receiver. The West team, absolutely top to bottom, STACKED stacked. Yes, I spelt it right, not the Eagles EGLES thing from their mayor. The West receivers are stacked. Ricky White, UNLV, he looks great. Very slight, very skinny, but a very good route runner. He had a great day. I think the two best days at the wide receiver position came from Juice Wells and Konata Bumpfield. Juice Wells comes to us from Ole Miss by way of South Carolina, by way of James Madison. He looked great. His stems were awesome today, was Juice Wells. And the other side was Konata Mumpfield. Konata Mumpfield is from Pittsburgh. Releases, stem. Juice Wells caught a ball through a defender. He had probably the catch of the day. Right sideline, through a defender, braced the football against the defender's back, came down with it. He didn't have any drops on the day. Those are the two most impressive. I thought Sam Brown from Miami played a very strong day. And Jacoby George was my surprise of the day at the wide receiver position, number 83. He's a slider cat, but Jacoby George has that thing we've talked about at events before in the skate factor, the skating factor. So Jacoby George from Miami was 5'10", 5'1", 5'10", 168 pounds, 9.5-inch hands. And he has the skate factor, the Tank Dell, the Kelvin Austin, the Ladd McConkey skate factor. I'm going to be very interested to see how fast Jacoby George runs here at his pro day down in Miami, if we make it down to that, or at the combine this next month. But those are the four wide receivers I wrote down to boot. But also, that group on that West team, Jimmy Horn, LeJounte Wester, Will Shepard, all guys from Colorado. Trayshawn Holden was in that group as well from Oregon, formerly of Alabama. But the biggest standout, I thought, was Konata. Konata, from a route running perspective, Konata Mumpfield is one you got to keep your eyes on. Juice Wells, maybe the best, the most talented from the group, but I loved everything from Konata Mumpfield. A lot of defensive notes here. I'm not going to bore you with that. That'll be stuff you'll find over on the website. You can see the link over here, 2025 rookies. We got all the spotlights up for receivers right now. We got a ton of them up on the website for wide receivers. Running backs are coming. And as we get through and I continue to grow the big board, the top 300, I'll be releasing some bigger non-paywall articles for like offensive line, defensive line, things of that nature as well. And that's where these notes will go for that. At the tight end position, two guys stood out. One, Luke Lachey from Iowa. Luke Lachey, that's a name that a lot of people know. The tight end position, he was 6'5", 245, 9.5-inch hands, 79 and a 1/4-inch wingspan from Iowa, 6'5", 245. He looks 240, 245. He looks on the leaner side, but he's very fluid, long, good catch radius, but he's a lean tight end. The other one that I had written down was 80, Carter Runyon from Towson. This kid's going to make a team. This kid's going to make it onto a roster guaranteed in 2025. Let me see if I can find his height weight here. Runyon R. I'm sorry, I'm just sorting through the thing. I probably should have had these up, but let's see here. 6'4", 235, 9.375 inches. So no numbers there. Mediocre numbers. He didn't look 235, man. I thought he was closer to 250. He looked great. So anyway, Carter Runyon, name to know. I talked about the three running backs already that I liked. I thought the Colorado receivers played really well across the board at practice today. There's a couple tackles. I talked about that already. It's not really a fun conversation. There's a couple tackles that are interesting. I really want to see them more tomorrow. Receiver, Kendra Lambert-Smith was solid from Auburn. I want to see a little more out of him tomorrow on Sunday, January 26th. And Montreal Johnson, the running back from Florida, thought he was solid. Little knock need. Rocket Sanders also. Rocket Sanders, I had a little higher expectations. I've seen him in person before at South Carolina. Little more expectations, but he looked good. I'm not going to be overly bullish on Rocket Sanders. There's a little Marshawn Lloyd in that game, but I'm also not going to be anti. But I think Rocket's going to be a tough one for me to get through this whole process. Let me finish on quarterback here. I don't know how my connection's holding up. Hopefully it's good. I see you in the chat. Appreciate you for jumping on. Appreciate you guys all for being here. I'll finish with quarterbacks here. We'll come back tomorrow. I'll see if I can get a stabler connection for tomorrow's show. Quarterback, though. The three names from the day. 1, Kyle McCord. 2, Cam Miller, North Dakota State. And 3 is Max Brosmer. Brosmer is by way of the Minnesota Gophers. Brosmer comes in 6'1", 216, 9.25-inch hands. When you look at Brosmer on TV, Brosmer looks like he's 6'5", 240. He's 6'0", 13. So he's 6'1", 216 pounds. Not really what I expected. I like him, though. I think he's a solid quarterback. I have to get another day of watching these guys throw. I don't really like anybody from the whole group. I thought McCord, Miller, and Brosmer were the highest outputters from the day. McCord, 6'2", 224, 9-inch hands. Miller, 6 foot, 210, 9.25-inch hands. McCord had some stuff go high, some stuff go low in the intermediates I didn't like. Miller was pretty consistent from what he gave you. And Brosmer didn't push the ball downfield as much as I'd like to see. Not going to talk bad about the quarterbacks. It's a tough thing to do. There's a lot of botch snaps because they're working with new centers today. A lot of guys stayed after practice. I saw Brosmer staying after practice to work on snaps. Good. They're fine. They're 4th, 5th, 6th round quarterback looking prospects from McCord, Cam Miller, and Max Brosmer. Matty Kiwum, thank you. I was a little worried. This, you know how it is when you get in a restream and this thing turns yellow and says connection lost, connection error. I'm like, golly, I might have lost my whole thing here. Matty Kiwum, I appreciate you, brother. But yeah, I think that's everybody. I got through. Croskey-Merritt, man, smooth, good hands, lower body elusiveness. I kind of like him more than I liked Michael Wiley last year, which is saying a lot because your boy liked Michael Wiley. I'm Cody Carpentier, Roster Watch Nation. Click that like button, click subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. Day 2 of the Senior Bowl. Day 2 of the Shrine Bowl. You get it. I'm going to get it mixed up the rest of the week. We'll be at the Senior Bowl on Monday night. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Stay tapped in, stay tuned in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening